What's up guys? Today's video is on the Nikon Coolpix P950 review 2023. The P950 gets there with optics alone, putting a big hunk of glass in front of an image sensor that's the same size used in most phones and pocketable cameras. At its wide end it matches the view of a 24mm lens on a full-frame camera, and zooms into 2mm at its 83x setting, more than any lens you'll get for a Nikon Z6 or other interchangeable lens camera. In practical terms, you can shoot wide-angle views, similar to what the main lens on most smartphones captures, zoom in to bring distant subjects to view, or anywhere in between. There are some trade-offs made, with the sensor size being one, and the lens aperture another. It opens up to a very reasonable f/2.8, but it drops off as you zoom, eventually settling in at f/6.3. The aperture measures how much light comes into the camera, so you'll get better results in dimmer light when making wide-angle images, at f/6.3 at the 800mm equivalent setting and beyond. The big zoom power is much better used in bright, outdoor light than in dim conditions. The camera has a rather sizable pop-up flash, but it's not powerful enough to illuminate distant subjects. EVF. The P950 includes a vari-angle display screen and an eye-level EVF for image framing and review. The 3.2 inches screen feels a bit dated. Its 921K design isn't as pixel dense as you'll find on many new cameras, and there's no support for touch input. The screen is mounted on a hinge, though. It swings out to the side to face forward, up, or down, so you can take selfie shots or capture images from high and low angles. The viewfinder is an OLED, one that's very sharp at 2.36 million dots. Nikon doesn't publish the magnification rating, but does state the display itself is about 0.39 inches in size. It's plenty large to my eye, delivering as much confidence in evaluating framing and exposure as I get with a mid-range mirrorless camera. Power. The P950 includes Bluetooth and Wi-Fi for cable-free image transfer to your smartphone. It works with Nikon's SnapBridge app, a free download for Android and iOS devices. SnapBridge can transfer 2MP JPGs to your phone automatically over Bluetooth. Remote control and transfer of full-size images is done over Wi-Fi. In addition to the hot shoe, the P950 includes a micro USB charging port, micro HDMI video output, and a 3.5mm microphone jack. There's a single memory card slot with support for SDXC cards and SI transfer speeds. The card slot is in the same area as the battery. The camera uses a relatively small NEL20A, rated for about 290 shots per charge or about 80 minutes of video recording. And camera charging is available, so you can top off the battery on the go. But be aware the P950 is a little finicky when it comes to charging cables. I tried a micro USB cable that charges other devices without a problem, but it didn't work with the P950. Nikon includes a cable in the box, one that works both with the camera and other USB devices. Still, we would prefer to see USB-C here, as it's the standard connector for the foreseeable future. Video. The lens and sensor are unchanged from the P900, so we expect image quality that's essentially unchanged versus the previous model. At 24mm f/2.8, the lens shows about 2,300 lines on an immediate evaluation, an excellent result for the 16MP sensor, and its performance at f/4 is just about the same. Edges aren't great in either case, but that's typical for this type of camera. Smaller f-stops, down to f/8, are available, but show less resolution. Diffraction, the optical effect that scatters light passing through a very small iris, is at fault. You'll get the best images out of the P950 by keeping its aperture wide open. And you'll want to, as the maximum aperture, the figure that measures the light a lens captures, drops pretty quickly. At the 2x setting the lens opens to f/3.5, and it's f/4 at 4x and f/4.5 at 8x. Resolution is excellent at each of those settings, hitting 2,700 lines wide open, and settling in around 2,300 lines at f/5.6. The lens closes down to f/5.6 by the 30x zoom setting, and Amatis shows good quality here as well. Zooming in just a little bit further, to the 33x setting, reduces it to f/6.3 and slightly drops resolution. Due to the size of our test charts, we're unable to get good test data at longer zoom setting. Field shots show that detail is good, but not stunning at maximum zoom, assuming the autofocus hits properly. Other factors, like atmospheric haze and air pollution, also factor into real-world results when trying to bring distant subjects into view. The 16MP sensor is at its best in bright light, at the lowest ISO 100 setting, and can go up all the way to ISO 6400 for work in dim light. When working in JPG format, you'll get very good images through ISO 400. Moving to ISO 800 blurs detail slightly, and you get similar results at ISO 16.0. Expect results that lack any fine detail at ISO 32.0 and 64.0. Video has been upgraded, with 4 Kelvin capture now available at 30 fps. You still have the option to record at 1080p as well, at 30 or 60 fps, and the same frame rates are available if you want to keep file sizes down by using 720p. Pro options, like a flat profile and cinematic 24 fps capture, aren't there. There are also off-speed options. You can record double-speed footage at 1080p, half-speed slow motion at 720p, and quarter speed at 480p. The 4 Kelvin video itself shows good colors and detail, and at wider angles optical stabilization makes handheld recording possible. But if you're trying to record at narrow telephoto angles, you should bring a tripod along. Handheld footage isn't as shaky as you'd expect at 2mm, but we see some oddball artifacts as a result, notably swimming backgrounds due to the rolling shutter effect. Controls. The P950 doesn't just look a bit like an SLR, it feels like one too. The hand grip is sizable, wrapped in a grippy leatherette, and curved to fit the shape of your hand. The shutter release and zoom rocker sit atop the grip, at a slight angle. Other top plate controls include the FN button. It's programmable and adjusts the continuous drive mode by default. The on/off button, mode dial, and the main command dial round out the top controls. Rear buttons include a toggle to switch between the EVF and LCD and to change the focus mode. The AEL, an FL button, is at the center of the focus toggle switch. Below it you find the record, play, display, menu, and delete buttons, along with a flat command dial. The dial supports additional functions via its directional presses, and has the OK button at its center. It doubles as a tool for menu navigation. The P950 doesn't have a touch screen. The left side of the lens barrel is also a control surface. It has a framing assist button. If you lose track of your subject at full zoom, hold it down to zoom out a bit. Once you've found and centered your subject, releasing the button returns the lens to its previous zoom setting. The lens barrel also houses a secondary zoom control and a control dial that can be used for manual focus. Nikon doesn't include any sort of quick control panel or other on-screen overlay menu. If you want to change a function that's not assigned to a button, like the autofocus mode, image format, or white balance, you need to dive into the main menu. It puts the P950 a step behind rival models like the Canon SX70HS and Sony RX10 III, both with on-screen control menus. Performance. The P950 offers a lot of zoom power and advanced features like RAW capture, but isn't the fastest model in Nikon's library. Startup time is about 1.9 seconds. And at wide angles the autofocus system locks on quickly in 0.1 second or less. It falters a bit when zoomed in, and accuracy is hit or miss. By default, the focus system picks its own subject and relies on face detection to keep people in focus. It works well for that purpose, but in the field the wide focus area consistently focused behind small songbirds, squirrels, and other suburban critters. Changing the autofocus area helps. The P950 also offers a more focused focus box in one of 3 sizes. Using it in large or medium settings nets pretty quick response, but I still struggled with back focus when trying to isolate sparrows and robins. The smallest option slows down the focus speed, but lets you put the box directly over a subject that's not prominent in the frame. Burst capture is available too. The P950 is able to snap up to 10 RAW plus JPG, RAW, or JPG shots at a time at a 7 fps capture rate. It's able to make images faster if you drop the resolution, but it's a big drop to get to 60 fps or 120 fps. There's a delay before you can make another image as photos write to the card, between 5 and 10 seconds depending on how fast a card you use and what file format you're using. Specialists. The Nikon Coolpix P950 is a camera for photographers who always want to zoom in a little bit farther, without having to spend the money on an interchangeable lens camera and a big, long telezoom lens. It builds on its predecessor's functions, with thoughtful additions like RAW capture, 4 Kelvin video, and a microphone input. Other areas haven't been upgraded, though. Nikon hasn't done anything to improve autofocus speed or accuracy. We'd also like to see a touchscreen and a current generation USB-C interface. Still, the P950 does what a lot of other cameras can't do. And if you're a fan of capturing wildlife, or just looking for a single camera solution for a national park, the P950 is a very good option overall. It's still in a niche, but not quite as narrow of one as the Nikon P1000, and even larger, heavier super zoom with a 125x lens. Customers looking for a mainstream bridge model can get away with spending a bit less. The Canon SX70HS is our editor's choice. Its lens doesn't have as much zoom power, but it covers an ultra-wide 20mm angle. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.